Well, movements bring people together with a common cause and a shared sense of purpose, and they can reshape markets in 2, 3 really big ways. One is they change social norms, so they change what people expect to demand. So you've seen, for instance, in food, a lot of change driven by social movements who create new lifestyles, new forms of eating, so on and so forth. The second thing is that movements are important to the supply side, because movements are really where innovation comes from, I think. So most real innovation involves groups and communities of people coming together. And then the final thing is that movements change frameworks. So if you think about the Me Too movement now, it's really about changing both social norms but also the framework of employment. And so movements can change those kind of public systems. So I think there's a critical moment that happens in movements, which I think Me Too has sort of done, which is it turns an issue, instead of being an issue about them, it becomes an issue about us, and we all feel implicated. And it's when you move from them to us, you're able to represent a much bigger collective that has a big impact. That interaction between movements and institutions is very important. That ultimately you have to change institutions. Institutions don't become movements, they remain importantly institutional in many of their features. So it's how that energy gets taken in and changes institutions, and how you can sort of keep alive some of the momentum and the ideas and the ways of thinking of that. And then you need, I think, to sort of try and get more people inside institutions to start thinking like movements. So I think more businesses now think with purpose. So I'm very interested in this middle ground, how you can create more of a dynamic interrelationship. But it does mean people inside institutions being prepared to deal with these outside forces, and the outside forces being kind of sophisticated enough, skillful enough to deal with the insiders. Lots of movements are not successful because they don't move out of just being a movement of the faithful. They don't go from opposition to proposition. They don't really mobilize a wider coalition. So that's one reason they fail. There's a case that some of the sort of fashion for movements is creating a kind of rather superficial sense of what movements are. It's just something you sign up for, and it's not really a movement. It's more like a lifestyle accessory or just a hashtag. So I think that's when they fail. But the other thing that movements can do is they can go wrong, like in really big ways. So when movements become fused with state power or religious power, then they can become really dangerous. You could get movements of entirely the wrong kind developing in an unequal society. So one of the things that I think we're seeing at the moment is authoritarian leaders understanding how to manage social movements and civil society, and creating their own movements to bolster their power. So that's why this contest to create movements for good is such an important thing.